Welcome back to Shawn Thinking Out Loud. I'm your go-to podcast where we dive deep into the currents of culture, politics, and everything in between. I'm your host, Shawn Armstrong, broadcasting from my secret hideout in beautiful Brazil. Whether you're soaking up the sun or just taking a moment to pause in your busy day, I'm thrilled to have you here. Today, we're tackling some weighty issues that are making headlines across the United States, from proposed legislation affecting federal law enforcement to the ongoing debate surrounding trans athletes in school sports. There's a lot to unpack. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's jump right into it. First up, let's discuss a recent bill pushed by Democratic Senators Alex Padilla and Cory Booker, which aims to ban ICE and CBP officers from wearing masks during public operations. This legislation has emerged in the context of rising tensions surrounding immigration enforcement, where reported attacks on ICE officers have skyrocketed by nearly 700% in recent months. It's alarming to think that just last week, 4 individuals were arrested in Los Angeles for attempting to disable CBP vehicles with homemade tire spikes, a clear sign of escalating hostility and resistance against federal agents. These incidents underscore the increasingly polarized climate we're navigating, where discussions about immigration policy have become battlegrounds for broader societal issues. The decision to prohibit masks is particularly provocative. It raises questions about safety and accountability, while also reflecting a growing sentiment among some lawmakers that transparency should take precedence in contentious times. As this bill moves forward, it will be crucial to consider not only the implications of law enforcement, but also how it might influence public perception and community relations in an already fraught atmosphere. Now, I think I've stumbled upon a rather controversial solution to the whole mask-wearing dilemma, but I doubt it will sit well with those who lean toward the extreme left. You see, many of them don masks not just for health reasons, but out of fear of being doxxed and having their families targeted with violence. It's a serious issue that makes a lot of folks feel like they have to hide their true identities just to stay safe. So here's my proposal. What if we enacted a law that would allow those who are doxxed to take matters into their own hands? Imagine this. If someone exposes your identity and puts your loved ones in danger, you could be legally authorized to track them down and eliminate the threat entirely. This would mean that anyone who dares to attack or harass these individuals could face lethal repercussions, effectively making them think twice before acting recklessly. If we took this a step further and classified any assault on these people as a capital crime, putting the death penalty on the table, then maybe we'd see a significant shift in behavior. With such stringent measures in place, perhaps the necessity for masks would diminish, allowing people to express themselves freely without fear of retaliation. Of course, I know this is a heavy-handed approach and would likely spark heated debates about morality and justice, but sometimes drastic times call for drastic measures, right? Now, before we dive deeper into this legislation, let's consider the broader context surrounding it. The political landscape in California has been increasingly adversarial toward federal immigration enforcement and reflecting a growing sentiment among local leaders and communities that prioritize ideology over the rule of law. Mayor Karen Bass describes the situation as a test case for the administration's political agenda, vowing that her city will not be intimidated by federal actions perceived as overreach. This stance is emblematic of a larger trend within California's urban centers, where local officials are pushing back against federal law they view as harmful or unjust. For instance, cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles have implemented sanctuary laws designed to harbor illegal aliens from deportation. In this charged atmosphere, Bass's commitment highlights a critical moment in which local governance is asserting its power against federal law, igniting debates about states' rights and the fundamental values of community support versus national enforcement. I find it fascinating yet concerning how political statements can embolden certain actions among the public. It's almost like a ripple effect. What starts as a few pointed remarks can quickly escalate into something much more alarming. Take, for example, the recent comments made by U.S. Attorney Bill Eseli regarding the rising hostility directed toward federal agents. He expressed deep concern that this charged atmosphere not only undermines the morale of law enforcement, but also significantly increases the risk they face on a daily basis. According to him, assaults on these agents have spiked dramatically, painting a troubling picture of an increasingly volatile environment. This raises important questions about accountability and the role of rhetoric in shaping public perception and behavior. When political leaders use charged language, it can galvanize individuals who may feel empowered to act on those sentiments, sometimes leading to violent confrontations or aggressive actions against law enforcement. It's a stark reminder that words carry weight and can lead to real-world consequences that put lives at risk. As citizens, we must be aware of how easily dialogue can shift from discourse to discord and recognize our shared responsibility in fostering a safe community for everyone involved. Imagine being in a position where you're simply doing your job, enforcing laws as written, and yet facing physical threats that can come from any direction, often without warning. It's a surreal and daunting reality for many law enforcement officers who find themselves navigating a minefield of public sentiment, political pressure, and personal safety concerns. This situation raises significant questions about public safety and the shared responsibility of both local and federal governments. How can we expect officers to effectively uphold the law when their very existence is under threat? It begs to question what measures are in place to protect those tasked with maintaining order. In communities across the country, we see instances where officers are met with not with gratitude or support, but with hostility and aggression. This not only puts their lives at risk, but also impacts the overall safety of the community they serve. As citizens, we must consider how our actions and attitudes contribute to this climate of tension. While policymakers need to evaluate how they can better support law enforcement through training, resources, and community engagement initiatives. Ultimately, fostering a safer environment is a shared responsibility that requires open dialogue, understanding, and a commitment to ensure that those who protect us feel secure in their roles. Here's a quote that resonates with the discussion. Laws are like cobwebs, which may catch small flies, but let wasps and hornets break through. This saying perfectly encapsulates the often frustrating reality of our legal system, highlighting an inherent imbalance that many feel exists in the enforcement of laws. It suggests that while minor infractions can land everyday individuals, those who may be struggling or less powerful, into serious trouble, more significant offenders, particularly those with wealth or influence, often seem to evade the consequences of their actions. Think about it. How many times have we seen high-profile figures skirt accountability due to their resources or connections? This disparity raises important questions about justice and equality. It's not just about the letter of the law, it's about who gets caught in its web and who is able to fly free. The metaphor serves as a poignant reminder that many in the legal system can feel less like a protective framework and more like a trap, one that ensnares the vulnerable while allowing those who wield power to operate unchecked. In conversations around reform, it becomes crucial to address these inequities and strive for a legal landscape where the rules apply fairly to everyone, regardless of their stature in society. And speaking of balancing acts, let's pivot to another hot topic. California Governor Gavin Newsom's stance on trans athletes competing in school sports. This issue has ignited passionate debates across the state and beyond, particularly as it touches on the delicate balance between inclusivity and fairness in athletics. Despite warnings from the Department of Justice regarding potential fairness issues for cisgender female athletes, Newsom has opted out not to block trans athletes from participating in their chosen sports. His administration seems willing to prioritize ideology over potential funding repercussions, suggesting that California can forego federal dollars if it means standing firm on its progressive values. It raises the question, if mental health is deemed secondary in this discussion, then perhaps they don't need that federal funding for medical services either. The irony is palpable. While schools grapple with how to fund their sporting events amidst these contentious policies, one must wonder where the feminists stand on this issue. Oh, wait a minute. They seem preoccupied with critiquing men who identify confidently as men who don't have a mental illness, except they work hard and are men. The ongoing debate surrounding this issue has ignited a firestorm of opinions, and it's hard to ignore the passionate arguments on both sides. Critics vehemently argue that the implications for women's sports are being brushed aside, fearing that the very foundation of fair competition is at stake. On the flip side, supporters claim that advocating for individual rights in this context is a vital step towards civil rights progress. But let's pause for a moment. Someone really needs to hear this. When individuals pretend to be something they're not, it transcends mere civil rights discussions. It veers into mental health territory. It's concerning enough that someone might struggle with their identity, but what complicates this issue even further is the expectation that everyone else should play along and validate that illusion. Imagine the pressure it puts on society as a whole to conform to a narrative that may not align with reality. This isn't just about personal beliefs. It's about grappling with the larger implications of those beliefs on communal standards and shared experiences. It raises a fundamental question. How do we balance compassion for individuals struggling while ensuring fairness and integrity in spaces like sports? The conversation needs to shift from merely labeling this as a civil rights issue to addressing the mental health aspects involved, which could foster a more nuanced understanding and potentially lead to solutions that respect both individual identities and collective fairness. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to reflect on these key takeaways. The tension between federal immigration enforcement and local government policies is palpable and escalating, creating a complex landscape where community values clash with national directives. As local officials grapple with the implications of federal immigration laws, many are adopting sanctuary policies aimed at harboring illegal aliens from deportation, often in direct opposition to federal law. This conflict is further intensified by the political rhetoric that surrounds it. Inflammatory language from various leaders can significantly shape public perception and influence how communities respond to federal agents operating within their jurisdictions. For instance, when local leaders emphasize ideological rhetoric, it can foster an environment of hostility and violence. While some argue for strict adherence to traditional competitive standards, advocating for what we see as a level playing field, others highlight the need for inclusive practices that accommodate diverse backgrounds and experiences. This discourse not only reflects our values, but also challenges us to rethink what fairness truly means in an increasingly diverse society. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found our discussion enlightening and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. If you're interested in diving deeper into these topics, I've got a wide range of books available, everything from politics to history and even martial arts. You can find audiobooks and ebooks through the link in the description. Until next time, keep thinking out loud.